So, anyway, the funny thing is that the Aquarian Conspiracy was a book written by Marilyn Ferguson, and it really was a trumpet blast. It was kind of like in the 1932 World Series. Some of you guys might remember that there was a Chicago Cubs and New York Yankees were playing in the World Series, and the Cubs were really razzing Babe Ruth, the big home run hero. So Babe Ruth pointed out to the left center field stands as if to say, I'm going to hit it right out there. And he did. He hit a home run. The Aquarian Conspiracy, they basically announced what they were going to do. This woman, speaking for the New Age, back in 1980, said, usually at the point of crisis, someone has a great heretical idea. A powerful new insight explains the apparent contradictions. It introduces a new principle, a new perspective. Given the superior scope of the new idea, we might expect it to prevail rather quickly, but that almost never happens. The problem is you can't embrace the new paradigm unless you let go of the old. If these discoveries of transformation are to become our common heritage for the first time in history, they must be widely communicated. They must become our new consensus, what everybody knows. Enter Oprah Winfrey. This woman was on Oprah Winfrey's show in 1987, program on the New Age movement. That's when Oprah announced that she had come to the realization that Jesus was teaching us about our divinity, not his. At the beginning, well, actually, the whole title of that book, The Aquarian Conspiracy, is taken from Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. You've got to try to remember this man's name. He was a heretical Jesuit Catholic priest who was basically shunned by the Catholic Church back in the 40s and 50s. And he had a saying, and he said, this soul is a conspiracy of individuals. I want you to listen to just 2 or 3 of these teachings, and I have a real point here. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Chardin said, a general convergence of religions upon a universal Christ who fundamentally satisfies them all seems to me the only possible conversion of the world, and the only form in which a religion of the future can be conceived. What I am proposing to do is to narrow the gap between pantheism and Christianity by bringing out what one might call the Christian soul of pantheism, or the pantheistic aspect of Christianity. Hello? The cross still stands, but this is on one condition and one only, that it expand itself to the dimensions of a new age and cease to present itself to us primarily for even exclusively the sign of victory over sin. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, Leonard Sweet, The Wolf in Wolf's Clothing, in his book Quantum Spirituality in 1991, said that Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was 20th century Christianity's major voice. This is the man that is all over the evangelical church right now, the so-called evangelical church. United Methodist minister, you don't pay much attention. All of a sudden, it was like he put on a new suit of clothes. He's being heralded and speaking with Rick Warren and others, and he's suddenly an evangelical like Brian McLaren. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, his quote is at the beginning of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. It's the very first quote in the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, written by Jack Canfield, one of the co-authors, who was a New Age leader that I was very aware of when I was in the New Age. First story in the book, Love the Creative Force by Eric Butterworth, the very man that Oprah talked about and endorsed and unleashed his teachings. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. It's unbelievable. You know, I don't know if you can see it from my perspective, but I come out of the New Age. We go through all sorts of spiritual battles. We understand that there was a victory won over evil on the cross, that sin and the devil and evil was just, the Satan was defeated on the cross of Calvary, that's the victory in Jesus that we all sing about and talk about. They're trying to take that away. They're like, it's like, you know, like that line that I had, you know, forget the cross, Hoss. You know, that's 50 ways to leave your Savior. And they have a whole bunch of them. Do contemplative prayer, Claire, or whatever. You know, I mean, it's just one thing after another. I had about 80 of them, and I finally stopped. I was afraid Paul Simon might get after me for copyright infringement or something. So one other thing that Chardin said that I think is very important, because we're looking at spiritual evolution. This is what they're calling it. You know, a lot of our church leaders are beating Darwinian evolution over the head. It's spiritual evolution that is what is being brought forward right now. Chardin said, God is not dead, but he changes. He says the transformation of the God of the gospel into the God of evolution. Well, let me just remind you that in Malachi 3:6, the Lord said, for I am the Lord, I change not. In Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. Romans 1:25 warns about those who change the truth of God into a lie. And I would suggest the lie is that God is in everyone and everything.
I'm reading Reinventing Jesus by Warren B.Smith. This is chapter 8, the Armageddon alternative. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Daniel 8:25. There are literally 999 references to peace in A Course in Miracles. When I studied the Course, it never occurred to me that there could be anything wrong with the peace the Course described, or the means they prescribed for obtaining it. I believed that the Jesus of the Course had my best interests in mind when he taught me to see everyone and everything as a part of God. I didn't know anything about spiritual deception. I didn't know that the Bible warned about a false Christ who would come with lying signs and wonders and false miracles, like A Course in Miracles. But if you aren't familiar with the teachings of the Bible, you don't know these things. Almost everyone in this world wants love and peace. But what are the conditions necessary to obtain that love and peace? And what if the love and peace you seem to attain becomes something else down the line? The Christ of the New Gospel has a plan. He calls it the alternative to Armageddon. He says that with his plan, Armageddon can be avoided, promising that his atonement plan, at-one-ment plan, will work if everyone plays their necessary part. But it must be a unified team effort. One for all and all for one. Pause. Kind of reminds me of where we go one, we go all. Sort of. Anyway, unpause. There can be no detractors. There can be no weak links. Love and peace will prevail when fear and separation are overcome. Overcomers, according to the New Gospel, are those who have overcome fear and separation by recognizing they are part of God and at one with creation. Pause again. Overcomers is also used a lot in the Nar, or the latter rain, about the end-time overcomers who also say that they will become like gods or be the corporate Christ. So, unpause. The Armageddon alternative peace plan has been given by the New Gospel Christ to his avant-garde channelers, who are now in the process of gradually introducing this plan with its underlying New Gospel principles to an unsuspecting general public. But the Armageddon alternative is not referred to as such at this time. The terms and concepts presented are generally simple and pleasing terms that, while loaded with hidden New Gospel meaning, remain non-threatening to the average person. The New Gospel is presented in simple sound bites about the virtues of love, peace, and oneness, while warning about the dangers of fear, hate, self-centeredness, and separation. Because things are being kept purposely vague, there is no talk about the plan's selection process, at least not yet. False assumptions of the New Gospel Peace Plan. Number 1, each person is a part of God. Each person is a cell in the one body of God, that is humanity. Each person or cell is divinely interconnected through their Christ self or higher self to one another. Number 2, fear-based belief systems, like old gospel teachings, deny that we are a part of God. This denial creates the illusion that humanity, the world, and God are separate from self. This misperception creates a world that is filled with self-centeredness, violence, hate, and war. Number 3, love-based belief systems, like New Gospel teachings, affirm that we are part of God. This affirmation results in the true perception that humanity, the world, and God are one with self. This true perception creates a world that is filled with selflessness, non-violence, love, and peace. Number 4, whatever we think is what we draw to ourselves. If we believe that war is inevitable, then the power of that belief will make it so. If we believe that peace is inevitable, then the power of that belief will make it so. Number 5, for the peace plan to work, each person must responsibly play their part in the peace process. Those who do not responsibly play their part hinder the evolution of humanity and the attainment of peace. False elements of the New Gospel Peace Plan. Number 1, each person recognizes that the world is in great peril. If something isn't done soon, humanity as a species could become extinct. Number 2, each person as a cell in the one body of humanity, that is God, has a responsibility to function properly within the context of the body by thinking right thoughts and relating to the body in a unified, holistic manner. Number 3, each person understands that the future of the world is up to the collective body. What they think is what they get. Thoughts of love, unity, and peace must prevail. Number 4, each person must correct any misperception that reinforces the idea that God, self, humanity, and the world are separate from one another. All fear-based notions of separateness must be eliminated from their thoughts and actions. No more separatist thoughts about sin, Satan, or Armageddon being real. Only thoughts of God, love, and peace. Pause. This also sounds a lot like the, kind of like the, what is it called? Not the prosperity gospel. Word of faith, right? You have to think it to make it real. 5. Through prayer and meditation, each person begins to envision and create the peaceful world they would like to see. They affirm and hold that vision of peace in their daily thoughts. Number 6, people gather together in small groups to increase the power of their individual envisioning. They join together as an expression of their oneness to collectively pray and meditate and hold the vision of a peaceful world. Number 7, people meditate, pray, and hold the vision of peace at the same time around the world to increase the power of their effort. Number 8, special events are arranged where people around the world can link more openly with one another, like the 1987 harmonic convergence, to increase the power of their collective vision. People begin to see and experience the power that comes from joining together in expressions of oneness. Remember in 2020, all the oneness we were being shown? Oneness here, one thing there. Okay, sorry. Barbara Marx Hubbard was in Boulder, Colorado with the originator of the harmonic convergence, Jose Arguelles, sorry, mispronounced probably, during the 1987 event. Number 9, as humanity becomes more aligned with its one body and unified in its expressed desire for peace, the power of God is more flowing and present, and there is an increase in miracles and healings. Number 10, as everyone links through their Christ self or higher self, the power of God, i.e. the force, begins to manifest its presence. 11, only fear with its illusion of separateness can threaten the flow of the force within the one body and keep the body from experiencing feelings of peace and oneness. These thoughts of separation are like cancer cells in the body and must be completely healed or removed from the body. Pause again. So, if you're a Christian, which you should be believing in separateness, you are threatening the flow of the force, and you will be removed like a cancer cell. Woo! Okay, number 12. Because thoughts of separation threaten the health and the peace of the body, a system is devised to visibly mark those who recognize their oneness with God. Those who do not submit to the process ultimately reveal themselves as separatists. And number 13. An appointed day arrives when all of those who want the God in Christ potentials within them to be fully activated align themselves in a designated moment in time with all humanity. 14. With the force of God fully manifesting in one moment through all mankind, humanity experiences itself as the one body of God. Number 15. This universal link-up with the force results in all humanity being resurrected and born again into a whole new way of being. In the twinkling of an eye, they are taken to a new spiritual level as they now actually experience themselves as a part of God. Pause again. In the Latter Rain New Apostolic Reformation, they have a thing, which I might do a video on, called the Cloud of Witnesses, but it goes back to like that Gnostic lady, prophetess Jane Lead, and actually believing that the Cloud of Witnesses was going to join with the people, like almost like a ghost coming into you, or a spirit of somebody who's already died, and you're going to become one, or something. Anyway, sorry, that just is kind of reminding me of this, what we just read. Number 15. This universal link-up with the force results in all humanity being resurrected and born again into a whole new way of being. In the twinkling of an eye, they are taken to a new spiritual level as they now actually experience themselves as a part of God. Number 16. Once humanity has been linked as one and corporately transformed, Christ and ultimately God will be enabled to return to earth. Peace will reign in the new heaven, on the new earth, and in the new Jerusalem. Projects of goodwill shall prevail. Sharing will be the key word. Pause. I'm going to go back. I'm not sure if this was back in 2001 when he wrote this, if he was aware of the corporate Christ in the Nor, in the latter rain, the corporate Christ, because that's what that's reminding me of. Number 17. Self-centered and separatist members of the one body who choose not to participate in this transformational peace process will be judged and removed from the corporate body by the selection process. They are not allowed to hinder the spiritual development of the rest of the one body. They will not be allowed to keep peace from happening. They are removed for the good of all. Just as the Global Renaissance Alliance members appeared on primetime television after September 11, it is expected that they will become even more of a presence during any future crises. Convinced that their Christ has a way to save the world from disaster, they will continue to introduce his new gospel peace plan to a world that is desperate for peace, a peace plan that their Christ has described in detail as the alternative to Armageddon. Here we have quotes. The Armageddon Alternative, the Planetary Pentecost. Direct quotes from Hubbard's Christ in Revelation. The alternative to Armageddon is the Planetary Pentecost. It sounds like the Billion Soul Harvest, the Big End Time Revival. Sorry, unpause. When a critical mass is in the upper room of consciousness on a planetary scale, each will hear from within, in their own language, the mighty words of God. All who are attuned will be radically empowered to be and do as Jesus did. This is Barbara Marks Hubbard. Here we are. I'm sorry, that was from page 157. Here we are, now poised either on the brink of destruction greater than the world has ever seen, a destruction which will cripple planet Earth forever and release only the few to go on, or on the threshold of global co-creation, wherein each person on Earth will be attracted to participate in his or her own evolution to godliness. That's page 174. It, Armageddon, will be a self-fulfilling prophecy if we force ourselves to continue contemplating this disastrous set of events. Armageddon is, dearly beloved, the dreadful script which you and I will rewrite now. Page 204. This text was written not to add or subtract from the divine book of Revelation. It was written to inform you of the alternative to Armageddon. Page 305. The book of Revelation is a description of one path to the New Jerusalem, but this scenario is not inevitable. The book of Revelation in the Bible describes the violent path to the New Jerusalem. This revelation, Hubbard's book, describes the loving path to the same condition. You are to prepare the way for the alternative to Armageddon, which is the Planetary Pentecost, the great instant of cooperation which can transform enough en masse to avoid the necessity of the seventh seal being broken. Tell them to recognize the God within themselves and to follow that light through the darkness of the tribulations to the dawn of the universal age, when only the God conscious continue to exist and everyone is like Christ. You are to provide the opportunity for a planetary signal wherein each person who chooses life over death can register that decision visibly, a coming to witness before the world. Each shall be sealed with the seal of the living God. This means that they shall be marked, visibly identified, first to themselves, then to others. This means that their inner eye in the forehead will be fully opened by this touch, henceforth awakening them from the womb of self-centeredness. Pause. So all that third eye stuff, and that's connected to initiation, and I believe all the mystical experiences that people are having, whether they're New Agers or charismatics that are having mystical experiences and encounters, like where they physically encounter spiritual things, whether they're flying off to heaven or Jesus is coming in the room, or they're getting touched, falling down like how Heidi Baker does and all these other ones, where they touch you and people start shaking, and all these things to me are getting people to this point. So their inner eye will be fully opened. Sorry, that's just me. All those sealed with the seal of the living God must be consciously linked in a common thought pattern for an instant, in time to avoid Armageddon. The bell will never toll if you can link before the end must come. Oh, this is so weird. And then you've got all the weird technology, Neuralink stuff, like Elon Musk. That would be helpful. That would help people to link in their consciousness. Those with the seal of the living God on their foreheads will be with Christ at the time of the transformation. Again, pause. These manifest sons people are all like waiting for a transformation to be transformed. It's the exact same thing. I cannot return until enough of you are attracted and linked. There will be practices for this coming event. Page 242. Sorry, I haven't been saying the page. Either the good will prevail, connect, link, and magnetize the majority of humanity to act with love for life everlasting, or the violent selection of the self-centered will begin. The violent selection of the self-centered will begin. The decisive moment of selection has almost come. The judgment of the quick and the dead is about to be made. The end of this phase of evolution is nearly complete. Wow. All who choose life everlasting have judged themselves worthy to be me. If those people who are not self-centered align their thoughts in perfect faith that they are whole, created in the image of God, the world can be saved. As the planetary smile ripples through the nervous system of Earth and the instant of cooperation begins, empathy floods the feelings of the whole body of Earth. Separateness is overcome, and I appear to all of you at once. Oh, that's so creepy. Pause, but I just wonder, this is what they're saying? This is what Barbara Marx Hubbard's Christ, demon spirit, is saying. It just makes me wonder, it really, it could be that way. What they're describing, it seems like just a weird inversion of what the Bible says. Okay, I'm pause. At the moment of cosmic contact, I will appear to you both through inner experience and through external communication in your mass media. The nervous system of the world. You will all feel, hear, and see my presence at one instant in time, each in your own way. An uncontrollable joy will ripple through the thinking layer of Earth. The co-creative systems which are lying psychologically dormant in humanity will be activated. From within, all sensitive persons will feel the joy of the force, flooding their systems with love and attraction. It will be as irresistible as sex. Wow. Yuck. As this joy flashes through the nervous systems of the most sensitive peoples on Earth, it will create a psychomagnetic field of empathy, which will align the next wave of people in synchrony everywhere on Earth. This massive, sudden empathic alignment will cause a shift in the consciousness of earth. It is essential at the moment of infusion of empathy that you overcome all fear of separation from God. What? This overcoming of fear in a whole planetary experience is an irresistible force. No being can resist it. Pause. That means, like, if this happens, you must overcome all fear of separation from God. Which is also, to me, meaning you must overcome the fear of God, or the fear of hell, the fear of going to the lake of fire. Okay, sorry, unpause. The cancer of self-centeredness will be consumed by the experience of wholeness. At the time of the quantum instant, there will be a judgment of the quick and the dead. That is, there will be an evolutionary selection process based on your qualifications for co-creative power. The species known as self-centered humanity will become extinct. The species known as the whole-centered humanity will evolve. After the selection process, you will be born to the next stage of evolution. There will be a new heaven, a new earth, a new body, and a new consciousness for all who survive. The New Jerusalem is the new city which emerges naturally from a new heaven and a new earth. It is the human community as a collective of natural Christs. I will write upon you my new name, which is not the Master Jesus who went to the cross, but the risen Christ who arose from the dead. Pause again. So they're saying, it almost seems like they're saying, the Master Jesus who went to the cross is a different entity than the one who rose from the dead. Those who choose this version of the future will be there. Those who do not choose it will not be there. Choose well, dearly beloved. Choose well. So evil. The mark. The mark of the beast. And he causeth all, both great, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Revelation 13, 16, and 17. Direct quotes from Hubbard's Christ in the Revelation. You are to provide the opportunity for a planetary signal wherein each person who chooses life over death can register that decision visibly, a coming to witness before the world. Each shall be sealed with the seal of the living God. This means that they shall be marked, visibly identified, first to themselves, then to others. This means that their inner eye and the forehead will be fully opened by this touch, henceforth awakening them from the womb of self-centeredness. I will write upon you my new name, which is not the Master Jesus who went to the cross, but the risen Christ who arose from the dead, ascended into heaven, and sits at the right hand of God. Those who have the seal of the living God will be able to take the next step of evolution. Those with the seal of the living God on their foreheads will be with Christ at the time of transformation. This critical mass represents those marked with the seal of the living God on their foreheads. Wow, she talked about that a lot. Further prophetic warning. The Bible's prophetic warning. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats, which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. 1 Timothy 4, 1-3. New Gospel quotes. Undermining marriage. In the future, our partners will be chosen in a much more scientific way, according to ray quality, like the 7 rays, ray quality, karmic relationship, and point in evolution. That's from Benjamin Creme. Fidelity of the partners is to each other for the sake of their chosen act, whether it be a godly child or godly work in the universe. When the act is completed, the partnership is renewed if there is more to be done. It is lovingly ended if there is nothing more to be created by that particular couple. Each discovers the next partner or partners with no hint of sorrow, for nothing is separated among those totally connected with God, and that's Hubbard's Christ. No sexual reproductions, only conscious conceptions. Hubbard's Christ again. You will choose to create another being only on the very special occasions when the whole community of natural Christ sees the requirement. The selection of the individual to be embodied is done by conscious selection. And that's Hubbard's Christ. Walsh, so you are saying that marriage should go? And God says, I have no preference in the matter. And that's from the Conversations with God book. Abstaining from meats. The defect of carnivorous behavior will gradually be overcome. Eating meat will cease. That's Hubbard's Christ from the Revelation. There are two defects from which you suffer: carnivorous behavior and the illusion of separation from God. Hubbard's Christ again. But in the New Age, vegetarianism will become the norm, and that's Benjamin Kreb. All these are excerpted from Conversations with God, Book 3, Neil Donald Walsh, The Reappearance of the Christ in the Masters of Wisdom, Benjamin Krem, and The Revelation by Barbara Marx Hubbard. And thank you for watching or listening. That was Chapter 8, and Chapter 9 is the New Gospel Doctrine of Separation.
Run.
There's just one name that can keep you out of hell, and it's the name of Jesus. The name of Jesus. The name of Jesus.